Hello, my name is Miranda Wise, and I'm the writer and producer of the story that you are about to watch. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed the show as much as I enjoyed writing it. And take care. I'll see you on the other side. Bye bye. Chapter 12, Cindy. I buttoned my blouse, looking into the mirror. Craig lived in a one-bedroom apartment near the downtown district. "Where are you going?" he asked. He was still lying in bed. I looked at him through the mirror. "I have to get home. I have to bake a pound cake for the bash tomorrow." "Why can't I go with you this time, Cindy? I always go." I thought to myself, because this handsome neighbor of mine is going to be there, and I don't need you blocking. Instead, I said to him, "I'm not going to be there that long, Craig." "I don't see how that has anything to do with it, Cindy." "We'll spend some time afterwards. I'll be back over here." He stood, joined me near the mirror while I stood. "Cindy, look at me." I looked up at him. What? He toyed with one of my individual braids. "I know I haven't been the man you want, but let me try and work on being the man you need." "And how are you going to go about that, Craig?" "I love you. I have always loved you. I don't know why I love you. And sometimes I wish I didn't love you so much. Because..." Shh. I put my hand over his lips. "No, Cindy. Let me get this out, okay?" "Okay, go on." "I have always wanted to marry you. I just keep wondering why you keep coming back every time we agree not to see each other again. There must be something you have in your heart for me." I wanted to tell him that the reason I keep coming back is because some of the relationships I end up in just don't work out, and he's better than nothing. But I was going to land in a relationship with Nehemiah by hook or by crook. I'd seen him earlier that week, and he thanked me for the cake again. I was at the mailbox, and he was driving by, stopped at the stop sign, slid down his window, told me thanks, before making a left and disappearing down the street. You will always be in my life, Craig. We have a child together. "I don't want to just co-parent with you. I want to be in your life for more than just that reason." "We'll see." I kissed him on the lips. "I'll be back tomorrow, I promise." And I was gone. Chapter 13, Nehemiah Grant. This is the most interesting neighborhood I've ever lived in. The neighborhood where me and Cheryl live was a little more private, but I chose a typical suburban neighborhood because I wanted to start over after losing her. She had died in a car accident a couple of years ago, and even now I still cry at times. I hadn't been in a relationship since. I couldn't. I had to get Zanny through college first. That was my main focus. I headed to the kitchen and tossed out the rest of that chocolate cake. I had not wanted the cake, but I didn't want to hurt Cindy's feelings. But my daughter and her friends had eaten most of it when they were here last Saturday. I knew Cindy's angle, the same mission some of the single nurses at the hospital who worked with me were on. But I wasn't that outgoing. I knew how to be polite, though. I reflected on the day's events. I had a 10 a.m. surgery that morning on a 69-year-old male, and that went successful. So I was feeling pretty good. I slipped on my shoes and headed over to the spring bash. I decided to walk because walking is good for the heart. I worked out regularly, did not smoke, and over 80% of my diet was vegetables. How could I order my patients to be healthy if I wasn't practicing it myself? Besides, being healthy made me perform better. I'm 47 and in much better shape than some who are 10 years younger. Lots of neighbors were there when I arrived. Music played, people talked, and enjoyed the food. Hey, Nehemiah, right? A young woman approached me and spoke. I had seen her in the neighborhood, but I didn't remember being formally introduced. Either someone had been talking about me or someone had been looking up my info using my address. This would not be the first time either of those variables happened. And you are? Oh, I'm Suella Mack. And how did you know my name? I had to ask that question. People talk, was all she said. So, I got one out of the two correct, I thought to myself. Do you have a seat? Are you meeting someone? No, I was just going to grab something to eat and head back out. As soon as I said that, I spotted Osteena sitting at the table with my next door neighbor, whom I had not yet met. She had 2 sons in their late teens. I headed over to them. There was an extra seat at the table. You ladies mind if I join you? No, feel free, Osteena said. Good to see you again, Osteena. Same here, Nehemiah. And this is my friend Vonnie. I shook hands with her. Vonnie was light brown with hazel eyes and reddish brown hair that she wore short with more in her crown and cut close on the sides. Sort of reminded me of my Cheryl. She seemed more reserved than her outgoing friend. Osteena dominated the conversation. I wasn't much of a talker to begin with, so that wasn't hard. Cindy then approached our table. How are you, Nehemiah? I'm good. This chicken is delicious. I'm glad you like it, Vonnie said. You made this chicken? I asked her. Yes, sir, I did. It's delicious, Vonnie. Thank you. It was tough not to look into Vonnie's eyes. They were mesmerizing. Do you like the meatballs? Osteena asked. I wasn't much for red meat, but I did place 2 meatballs on my plate. I love them. What kind of sauce did you use? I mixed different sauces. It's kind of complicated to explain. Okay, now, did you try the pound cake, Nehemiah? Cindy asked. I'm not that big on sweets, I said. She looked disappointed, but I was never one to try and please everyone. It was not long before I began feeling overwhelmed by all this attention. It reminded me of being at work. Nurses constantly brought me food to win me over, and no woman, since Cheryl, knew what it took to capture my heart and understand what attracted me to them. But the woman who drew my attention was the one who was not trying that hard. Once I arrived home, I opened my medical journal. Having medical practice was all about making sure you stayed up to date on everything and continued training. Technology constantly evolved, and there were always new ways to perform surgery or updated information regarding heart disease and high blood pressure. Someone rang my doorbell. I headed downstairs. I looked through the peephole. Cindy was at the door. She was holding something. When I opened the door, I noticed a plate covered with foil. She profited and said, I don't think you got any pound cake? Oh, okay, thank you, I said, accepting the plate. Are you busy? Actually, I am in the middle of something, Cindy. I see. Well, I wanted to make sure you got your cake. Did this woman not hear me when I told her I wasn't big on sweets? Instead, I did say to her, "Thank you, I appreciate it." I closed the door, took the cake into the kitchen, and set it on the counter. I figured maybe my daughter or one of her friends would eat it when she comes back. Hopefully soon. Chapter 14, Osteena. Your decision to start working out has nothing to do with that fine nigger across the street from you, does it? Cindy asked me as we completed our workout on the treadmill. She could be so crass sometimes. No, I've been wanting to go to the gym for a long time now. I use my towel to wipe my face. Besides, it feels so good to work out. So, what did Nehemiah say while you were at the table at the party the other day before I walked up? Nothing much. He doesn't seem to talk much at all. Seems like it. So, are you trying to holler at him? I asked Cindy. She seemed to have a keen interest in him. I sure hope we wouldn't end up in a race to get his attention. Cindy was my friend. No, I'm not trying to holler at him. How are things going with you and Craig? We're fine. We headed over to the ab machine. She showed me a lot, and I was enjoying the workout. This was my third day. Craig can be so weak at times, though. But he loves you, Cindy. I just can't stand the begging and pleading all the time. But you keep going back to him. He must be doing something right. We grabbed our bottles of water and headed to the ladies' room. We were done with our workout and I was thankful. I headed home once we got to the parking lot, and she headed over to her mother's house to get her daughter. When I pulled up, I spotted Nehemiah getting out of his truck. My heart started picking up again. He emerged from his truck wearing a pair of designer shades, a pair of slacks, a dress shirt, and tie. He removed what I figured was his medical bag. I hopped out and headed across the street. "Hey!" I waved at him. A smile spread across his face. He headed towards me, which was unusual. He was, most of the time, reserved. Vonnie was at work, and I wish she could have witnessed this scene. We met each other halfway before he said, "Tell me your name again." That disappointed me. He forgot my name. We had talked a few times. He didn't forget my name before. Dang. Osteena. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's not a name you hear every day. Well, it had been nearly 2 weeks since we conversed at the grocery store and the party. I had to forgive him because it wasn't like we talked every day. However, that is a pretty name. I noticed his eyes traveled the length of me once he removed his shades. I felt under scrutiny. Looks like you just finished working out. My hair was in a ponytail. I was wearing a pair of sweats and a t-shirt and Nike running shoes. Yeah, my hand instinctively went to my hair and I giggled nervously. Me and a friend of mine, I just started going to the gym actually. He nodded slightly. Yeah, I like to work out too. Maybe we can work out together while I'm here. You're not planning on moving already, are you? Pardon me? Oh, no. No, I'm not. Okay, Nehemiah. I'll talk to you later. I must take a shower. If you want to come over later for a glass of wine, just knock on the door. He nodded slightly and said, Thanks for the offer, but I have to get some work done. I have 3 patients in the morning. 3? 3 heart surgeries? Excuse me? Oh, no, not 3 surgeries. He frowned slightly, almost as if he didn't know what I was talking about. Was he a heart surgeon or not? Oh, you scared me for a minute. His eyes seemed fixed on me, and I noticed he sneaked a peek at my rear end as soon as I turned around. Nice talking to you, Osteena. You too. It seemed like he was trying out my name for the first time, the way he said it. I hurried into the house and called Bonnie. You gotta make it quick, Osteena. I'm about to get my client from under the dryer. What's up? Me and Nehemiah had a whole conversation this evening. Girl, you should have seen how he was looking at me. Like, how? How was he looking at you? Like he wanted to touch me? Well, that's a good sign he likes women. I know. I think he's more comfortable talking one-on-one, though. That's possible. He does seem introverted, but it's funny because one of my clients spoke about him this afternoon. She said he operated on her 80-year-old father, and her father's doing quite well. What she told me warmed my heart. I looked out the window. He had changed his clothes and was headed out again. I watched him hop into the black SUV and pull out. How did that subject come up? I asked. I'll tell you, but I've really got to be going. Another client asked how her father was doing after his surgery. That's when she said he was doing great, and she praised Dr. Grant for his skills. See, I need to start working at a hair salon. Girl, you are crazy, but my client is looking at me cross-eyed. I gotta go. Chapter 15, Sandy. I had to step up my game. Osteena thought she was so slick. I peeped her out there talking to Nehemiah when I pulled into my driveway. They didn't see me because they were so busy up in each other's faces. The only advantage she had over me was that she lived right across the street from him. I picked up the phone and called Vonnie, but one of her operators told me she would call me back. After an hour, which seemed like 3 hours to me, she called me back. So, has Osteena found a new love? I asked. I had to present it as if I was happy for Osteena. I wasn't happy for her at all. Why you say that? You know, she's been working out, trying to take better care of herself. She should do that no matter what, Cindy. Oh, because I thought maybe she told you something she's not telling me. And just think, I was trying to help this hussy help get herself together with working out and eating right. No, I don't know. Did you ask her? Yeah, and she's being really secretive? I lied. I had not asked Osteena. I wasn't going to ask her. I was going to get information without having to give away my game. I think you need to ask her, Cindy. Osteena hasn't told me anything about a new man either. I hung up and bit my bottom lip. Moments later, Craig called. How about some company? He asked. I had needs, so I allowed him to come over. But mind you, Craig was only that bridge to get me to where I was really trying to go. Chapter 16, Vonnie. I was on the verge of telling Cindy not to put me in the middle of this feud they seemed to be having over Nehemiah. All of them were my friends, and I wasn't about to take sides. And I knew Cindy could be really sneaky sometimes. She was giving off vibes that she was interested in Nehemiah. I knew the first night I saw him that something like this would go down. It was already bad enough Suella was constantly in my ear about this man. But if he's out there having conversations with Osteena the way he's been doing, I would think he would be interested in her, and the rest of them ought to back off. But I knew Cindy was capable of betrayal. I knew the father of her daughter was the boyfriend of a best friend of hers who moved away after he cheated with Cindy. I left the shop around 8 and headed home. The days were getting longer, so it was still sort of daylight when I arrived home. I got out of my car. Just then, Nehemiah pulled up. I waved and he waved back. Then I heard Cindy calling my name. Bonnie. She was headed up the street. Bonnie! Bonnie! Hey, Cindy. Nehemiah turned around. Hey, Bonnie. Hello, Nehemiah.
Hello.
She approached him and said, I've been meaning to ask you how much you paid for this truck. His smile turned into a chuckle.
Why? Are you planning on buying one?
I did not miss that furtive look she gave and that sneaky little smile. Well, I might. She leaned on the car, which I considered a bold and disrespectful move. Cindy, why are you leaning on his truck like that? She was on the driver's side, near the hood, and he was still standing on the driver's side and had closed the door. I don't think he minds.
I don't.
Nehemiah was looking a little nonplussed by her behavior, though. I happened to look up and saw a light come on in the master bedroom. I couldn't tell who was in the room because the blinds were drawn. If Nehemiah is outside, then who is inside? I didn't see his daughter's car parked out there anywhere. And it was at that moment that I realized a woman could be visiting. I tried to throw a hint at my friend before she talked herself into some mess. Cindy, I'm sure Nehemiah has things to do, so we'll leave you to your business, sir, I said.
I'm fine, actually.
I was becoming more confused. See, Bonnie, he wants to hang out with us.
What's your profession, Cindy?
I'm a teacher, or should I say, educator.
We do need those.
Don't we, though? Where did you go to school?
Howard University College of Medicine.
I thought that was awfully strange. I could have sworn Osteena told me that he told her he went to Johns Hopkins. I would have to ask her again. The next thing I knew, Cindy was up in this man's face, and he didn't seem to be annoyed by it. I didn't want to hang around outside because I needed to go in and get a shower. But I felt that when I left, she would go for it. I was surprised Osteena hadn't come out yet. And when I looked across the street, I knew why. Her car was not in the driveway. She must have gone out. Where would she be going this late in the evening? I wondered. Maybe we ought to get together sometime, Nehemiah.
Okay, but I must be getting in.
That's when I started towards my house and told both of them good night. I couldn't believe Cindy's nerve. Not only that, she was still dealing with Craig.
How was work, Mom?
My oldest son, Sebi, asked the minute I walked into the house. He took my bag. I followed him to the kitchen where he presented me with my dinner.
Ta-da!
Oh my goodness, who cooked this? I asked, eyeing the baked chicken, steamed vegetables, and rice.
Me and Lim.
Oh, thank you, son. Lemuel came in and hugged me. I sat down and started eating my food.
I see Miss Cindy is over there trying to push up.
My sons laughed, but I didn't like to involve kids in the business of grown people. But I had to remember that my sons were almost grown. Sebi was 17 and Lemuel was 16. Cindy is just acting like herself, son.
Yeah, the hoe that she is.
Sebi.
Ma, come on. You know she has a lot of dudes. Now he gonna be next.
His hand gestured in the direction of Nehemiah's house. But I wasn't so sure my neighbor would be biting Cindy's hook. Although he was being polite, I couldn't see him falling for her. He still seemed a little reserved, even though he had loosened up a little bit. After I ate dinner, I headed up to my office to work on some books. I did not turn on the light right away when I noticed the light was on in the room on the side of the house that faced mine. This time, I shut the door so my sons wouldn't catch me spying.
He sat in the same spot, reading something on a desktop computer. He seemed intensely occupied with what he was reading. I couldn't help watching this fine man, but I found it more fun to watch him this way than to have a conversation with him. I guess it was the fantasy of it all. Besides, I was too old to behave like Cindy. In a way, she was too old, being 39 years old with a child almost 13. But I couldn't be as bold as she was, however.
Chapter 17, Suella. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. I left the station around 7 p.m. one night. Mind you, I had not seen Nehemiah since the spring bash, and that was almost a month ago. It wasn't like it was done deliberately because I was working a lot. All the political stuff, crime in the city, police corruption. The writers were busy with stories, and I missed the days of frontline journalism. I stopped in Brews, a coffee shop in our suburban neighborhood. I saw him standing in line. I walked up to him. "Hey, what are you doing here?" He looked down at me.
"Oh, hello. How are you doing?"
He paid the cashier and grabbed his cup. "I wanted to ask you something."
"Me? Sure. What is it?"
He waited for me to order before we headed to a table and sat down. This felt so much like a date. Then he said,
"What is it that you need to know?"
"We always report bad news, crime, political nonsense, but our columns on positive stuff always get overlooked. I would like to do a full page on you."
"Me? Why?"
He almost choked on his drink. One thing about this man is that it was tough getting in his head. He stared through me with those dark eyes. Most people's eyes, you could tell what color they were. His eyes looked black, and because the white part of his eyes was so clear, it made them look even darker. I noticed his hair was jet black, and I wondered if he had any native Indian in him. "Nehemiah, you're a black man and successful heart surgeon. You ever had anyone do a report on you?"
"When I first became a surgeon."
"And when was that?"
"I'd say 12 years ago."
"You don't mind me asking how old you are, do you?"
"I am 47.
"Wow! You've been a heart surgeon since you was 35?
"Yes, ma'am."
When he answered, it almost sounded like he was boasting a little. I knew he was proud of his profession, and that's when I knew I had them. Most people hardly ever hear about a black man in your position. Whenever we read about our brothers or see them on TV, they're in a negative light."
"I agree.
Suella?" Before he could finish, the cashier called my name to pick up my order. I grabbed my drink and returned to the table. Like I was saying, oh no, you were about to say something.
"I was going to ask when you needed this done. I have a pretty busy schedule ahead of me. I'm going on vacation next week with one of my kids, and we're flying out to visit someone."
"Okay. How about tomorrow evening?" He thought for a second before he answered.
"Sure, but it would have to be between 6 in the evening and 8.
"So, meet at your place?"
"How about we meet back here? I see it's pretty quiet around here this time in the evening."
Boy, did that blow up in my face. My goal was to step inside of his house. I was dying to see what it looked like inside. I couldn't understand why this man was so secretive. And the next day he was even more secretive. Instead of talking about himself or his personal life, he stayed the course and talked about his job. Even when I asked questions like, "Are you married?"
He simply said,
No.
Then I asked, you say you have children, right?
Yes, I do.
He did not elaborate, even when I probed a little. His answers were so direct that he was any journalist's nightmare, and I was usually good at getting the answers out of people. But at least I was able to spend 90 minutes with his fine behind. And I couldn't wait to write this article. I could have had this designated to another writer, and my superiors had a problem initially with an editor doing this type of article instead of one of the writers. But I explained to them that I was already familiar with him and he knew and trusted me, so they loosened their grip.